So this video is going to be pretty much a maintenance video on the Kubota L2350. Right now the tractor's up for maintenance, and this is a Kubota L2350. It's a 1990s model. I don't know exactly what year it is, but I know it's I think it's a 1998. So what we're going to do is we're going to change fuel filter. We're going to do an oil change. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change fuel filter. The tools that you're going to need to do this is Kubota fuel filter or equivalent, and oil filter wrench or equivalent. Now the way that Kubota would have you do this, and in the manuals or anything you read, is to disconnect the fuel lines. And if you do that, if you disconnect the fuel lines, then you have to bleed the whole system. So what I like to do is we're going to go get something. We're going to crimp this. We're going to open this up, let the filter fill up, and then we're going to tighten it down. I did that last time and that seemed to work really well. So this is our fuel filter. Yes. So this is the location of the fuel filter. We're replacing it with an equivalent. And I've found this online. There's a lot of places that have parts that fit some of the older Kubota tractors. It looked like a lot of people have a lot of the older John Deere stuff too. So again, I'll be using these pliers to hold pressure down on this hose, removing the filter and putting the new filter on so that I don't have to fully bleed the system. The system will actually bleed itself. Such a minute amount of air is going to get in there. So let's have at it. You don't want to grab it too tight. You don't want to crush the filter. Just want enough pressure that it's going to open. And one thing I say with every job you do, proper gloves. We're going to be getting some diesel all over our hands here. And now the reason that I don't care, we got this running into a bucket down here. I'll just pour this diesel in our homemade creosote bucket. We have some logs we're going to be cutting down here very shortly. And we'll do that part of the homestead channel so that we can creosote some poles. First, let's let some diesel come up. It's really not necessary, but I thought I would do it because they recommend it. And personally, I just go about hand tight, maybe a little tighter on filters. I never believed in really bearing down on them. So anyways, fuel filters changed. Alright, so we've gone ahead, we got the fuel filter changed. We're going to do the oil now. Now, underneath the tractor, there's two plugs right here at the front. And what we're going to do is remove those plugs. So for an oil change on this tractor, you'll need a 17mm socket and ratchet, Kubota oil filter number HH164-32430, 6 quarts, 22 ounces of a quality 10 weight 30 oil. Or you can check the chart depending on where you live. Some places you might, an SAE 30 might be just as fine, but in the warmer temperatures, I think using a 10 weight oil is pretty good. So let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, that's one bolt. And when I'm outside working, I usually just set my parts up here. We're going to probably wash and wax this thing we do that once a year too. Just kind of keeps everything sort of new looking. Alright, so the oil's all drained out, just a few more drips. We're going to do next, we're going to take the oil filter off. Ooh, that's on there tight. Well, we don't need to do our oil filters that tight. The oil to put around the ring here. Let's make sure there's no grit in there. Okay. We're gonna miss, and we're gonna get oil all over the ground, aren't we? Yep. Well, we'll just dig that up and burn it. Oh, and I see it sits back further than because the hood used to stick out with that other filter. That's how I lost this screw. And I'm willing to bet you that is tight enough. Alright, so we're just going to reverse the procedure. And everybody knows how to do this part, I'm sure. And if you don't, I encourage you, because this is not really that difficult. You know, Jennifer used to be intimidated by a lot of this until I started showing her how easy it really is. And she can pretty much think her way through a lot of engine issues. And I just love knowing that my significant other, when she's out there, can take care of herself and is not going to get taken advantage of that easily. Of course, I think if we all know Jennifer, she's not going to get taken advantage of easily. And again, I pull it till it's tight, and then I go just a little bit more on these. Really shouldn't need more than that. If this leaks, I'll probably replace the bolt and put a better washer under it. I know I go through a lot of gloves like this, but I don't want to get oil on my phone. Okay. So like I say, we have, this is our oil. And on this tractor, right, your oil dipstick is right here. As you can see, we've drained it. That is the oil dipstick on this tractor. It's kind of difficult to find. The oil fill on this tractor is right here. And you see how we get to that. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put our oil in, check it, dispose of this, and we'll change the air filter. Next thing is gonna be the air filter. For this job, you just pretty much need the air filter. Actually, it don't look that bad. But oh, there we go. The genuine Kubota part number is 7000-11221. And that's the actual Kubota part number. This one is, they were out of stock of those, so this is an aftermarket. I think I paid 29 bucks. Tighten this up and then we're done. Okay, I'm coming. All right, I'm gonna go in the house and cool off for a minute, and then we're gonna come out and we're gonna do the hydraulics. So we've done the fuel filter, oil filter, air filter. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna change the transmission fluid, hydraulic fluid. The tools that you will need for this job: a 24mm socket, 17mm socket, and believe it or not, a 15/32 socket, and the appropriate ratchet. You will also need 7.4 gallons of a quality tractor fuel, something that is UDT specific for the Kubota brand. There's a bunch of different brands out there. I've been trying the VP Racing products in everything we use around here, and it seems to be doing a great job. It's mid-range priced, I feel, so I think we're getting our money's worth. So I guess let's get started on this. I'm going to show you the bolts. So this is the 24mm. This one is a 17mm. There is one right there that is a 17mm. And then one right there that is a 17mm. All four of those bolts come out. And when that's all drained, we're gonna remove that piece right there. That's where the screen is. That's the 15/32. And the way that has to be removed is kind of slow. Where's that at? The way that has to be moved is kind of slow because there's a spring in there, and that spring is going to kind of pop out. So you want to make sure, number one, you have all your fluid drained. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and drop these out, drain the fluid, and we'll pick back up with removing this piece right here. All right, so with all the fluid changed, now it's time to take this part here out. There is a spring in there, and I don't really know how tight or tough that spring is, but we're just gonna go ahead and take this out. We got the screen out. This screen is horrible. They were bringing in the sun. You see there's a lot of dirt in there, and I know why that is. There's a little vent, breather vent piece that goes on the caps for the hydraulic fluid. And I lost the one on the rear, and I had a cover on it. It fell off. Long story short, here we are. So the way they recommend cleaning this is with kerosene. I don't have any kerosene, so I'm just going to use some diesel. Diesel and kerosene are pretty close. And remember, none of this goes to waste because we just put it in the creosote bucket. Oh my. I wonder if a nylon brush would work. Alright, so we'll just use a simple nylon brush, kind of. The pressure goes against the outside, so there's nothing inside the screen. That's wonderful. Just let that kind of soak in there for a minute. Alright, so we'll go put it back in and see how she works. Okay. That slides back in. This spring sits over top, and then the cap goes over the spring. See if we can't get these in hand tight here. That's back on, so all that is left, put the fluids back in it, we'll check the water, make sure it's fine, and crank her up.